So looking through the window, I don't see anything happening with either pump. And when I take the bag out, let's see if I can do this. When I take the bag out, it's not inflated at all. So I would expect there to be at least a little bit of residual air in there, even though it's slowly leaking. It's attached to an open valve. But I didn't really see any movement through the window, and there's nothing in this bag. So I gotta troubleshoot my project. So let's see if we can figure out what's going on. So looking over my bucket, there are actually a lot of places where it might be leaking. There's the rim of the bucket for one. So if this isn't screwed on tight, it's not gonna hold a vacuum. Is the gasket on? Is the lid on tight? That's my first step. So my second step is when I look at my connections, you can see that there's actually, these connections are not as good as I want them to be. So any place where I put a hole in the bucket, that's a potential leak point. So I've got this sealed on with a washer. I've got this one also connected with a washer. And then I've got this window. And each of these is on pretty tight, but actually when you wiggle it, I can see that there's a little bit of, there's imperfections in that seal. And when I press this, I can see that that is actually not on at all. So that's a problem. And those leaks might be preventing me from getting a solid vacuum. So I was hoping that I could just seal that. And maybe I can, but it's going to take at least one more coat of sealant, and I probably also need to put some washers in there to hold that in place. So those are some things to work out. But when I open the bucket, this is the actual culprit. My Tedlar bag has a giant hole in it. So that's definitely not going to work. I'm going to need to seal up this bag if I want to get any kind of vacuum in here. So we're going to do a public lab fix. I'm just going to use some packing tape. If you've ever built a kite out of Mylar bags, you're going to be familiar with the powers of packing tape. And I'm just going to take a single piece and then very carefully lay that along the edge. I'm going to unscrew this so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to lay this along the edge and see if I can get that to seal up. All right, let's try it again. And I can already see something happening in the bag. So I'm just going to let that run for 10 minutes and see what happens. So I'm going to turn off the vacuum, seal this up real quick, and then I'm going to very quickly, because I know I have some leaks, take this out of the bucket. Let's see what we've got. All right. And we've got not a lot of inflation, but we've got some inflation. And you can see it's very quickly starting to equalize, probably because of those air leaks. So that's a good starting point. Okay, so I ran that 3 times and my bag did not inflate. Inflated maybe a little bit, but not enough to show me that it's working. So we're going to troubleshoot. What do I think could be wrong? I think my connections could be loose. I think my lid could not be sealed on. Or I could have a problem with my bag. I tried to tape up my Tedler bag. Maybe my bag's broken. So I did a couple things to try to narrow it down. First off, I covered over all of my connections with packing tape, which is kind of like a quick and dirty way to try to seal things up, all around the edges. I ran that with the Tedler bag, and it still didn't work. I got a little bit of air, but not a lot. So I'm going to try a different bag. So I only have one of these Tedler bags. So instead, what I've done here is I've just taken like a regular sandwich bag and rubber banded it onto my valve. This valve is basically just like an open channel. So if it's working, I should be able to inflate any bag that I attach here. So let's try it. So I'm going to put this on. Yeah, really tight. Make sure it's on there. All right. And I can see the bag, and it's all scrunched up, so we're going to turn on the vacuum. Oh, wow. And right away, I can see that I've got a nice inflated bag. So the lesson here is you can't get your hole out of your Tedler bag once it's ripped. All right, so I'm going to go order myself another Tedler bag, and we'll try it again when I have all my parts. Thanks for watching. Definitely, please, if you have comments, if you have feedback, if you've built one of these things, if you're just interested in the project and want to drop in and put out some ideas, drop your comments in, and we'll see you next time.